Yo, what's going on? Mike from Mike Talk Sports. So Markelle Fultz, the former number one pick in the NBA draft, is one of the more underrated players in today's game. Let me tell you guys why in this video. The very first word that screams out to you when you watch Markelle Fultz is decisive, decisiveness. That is really the key to Markelle Fultz's game. It seems as though every single time he touches the ball, he knows exactly what he's going to do with the ball. Does this sometimes, maybe 5% of the time, lead to a bad telegraph turnover? Yes, sure. But 95% of the time, guys, Markelle Fultz takes the best shot that is available for his offense. You compare him to a guy like Jason Tatum, a guy who was drafted 2 spots after Markelle Fultz. Obviously, Jason Tatum is a significantly better player. I'm not even suggesting anything there. But sometimes I watch a guy like Jason Tatum and so many star players in today's game, so many starters in the NBA, and Markelle Fultz has started every single game for his team, and I go, that was a bad shot. That was a very bad possession. I look at the spin, turnaround jumpers, the sidestep threes, and sometimes I go, I don't really care if it goes in. I don't care if it doesn't go in. That's just a bad possession that is not indicative of winning basketball at the highest level in the NBA Finals, in the playoffs. That's something I absolutely adore about Markelle Fultz's game. He is so decisive out there to the point where, again, he's getting the best shot opportunity for his offense. Whether it's him shooting the ball or whether it's his teammates, he's so incredibly decisive. So Markelle Fultz this year at 24 years old, so he's still pretty young, 6'3", 209 pounds. First off, talking about that frame, he plays significantly bigger than his frame would suggest. I would imagine at this point, he's above his listed weight. He just plays so big out there. He loves bullying other point guards out there. If he has a guy like Tyrese Maxey on him, it's an automatic 20-piece from Markelle Fultz. He's just going to body him in the paint and get easy paint possessions over a guy like Tyrese Maxey or any smaller guard in the NBA. So in 30 minutes per game this year, he averages 14 points, 5.7 assists, 4 rebounds on 50.9% from the field. Incredible numbers, honestly. Very efficient. Now, he does shoot 30% from 3, which we're going to get into his lack of three-point game in a little bit, but he shoots 53.8% from the 2-point range. He's a guy who knows he's not a good three-point shooter. He's probably not going to be a good three-point shooter in the next couple of seasons. I think that's something he could develop later down in the road in his career when some of that athleticism starts to drop off and he starts to have a harder time finding those mid-range twos in the restricted area that he is so good at. But his three-point game, does it hurt him off ball a little bit? Yes, but not nearly as much as it used to. Markelle Fultz is a guy you really need to watch to get a full understanding of his game. He honestly, something that really came to mind besides him being a decisive basketball player is, to me, he's the point guard version of Montrezl Harrell. Like, he legitimately plays like a power forward out of the mid-2000s, but extremely efficiently and at the point guard position. And I know some people would say it's extremely undesirable for your starting point guard to play like Montrezl Harrell, which I truly do believe Markelle Fultz, if he wants to be a championship contributor, then he'd be the best 6-man in the NBA potentially, or a top 3 6-man in the NBA, just because once you get on a championship team, unless you're a top 2 player on that team, you're going to be primarily an off-ball player. And while Markelle Fultz is a very good off-ball player, usually you do want a little bit more spacing on the court than a Markelle Fultz, but still, Markelle Fultz getting into his game as an off-ball player here. He's great at running the baseline and really making cuts for his offense. He's a very willing screen setter, which is great from a point guard position. He's so great at running around off ball in the restricted area, getting the ball in the restricted paint area, and then he, similar to Nikola Jokic in a sense, could really pass very well out of that post position. Like I alluded to earlier, he loves using that huge point guard frame that he does seem to have. He really backs down his defenders. The mid-range turnarounds are so good. The floaters are really the staple of Markelle Fultz's game. He gets to that 10-foot range, that 7-foot range, and loves using the spin floaters. He is so incredibly fundamental, big fundamental out there, loves using his pivot foot to really get an open shot in the paint, utilizes that pivot foot extremely well in the paint as well. He's great in the full court as well. That's really where he excels. He's so good at getting a rebound on defense and then playing downhill. He's such a downhill player, not only in the full court where he's great at running the court, again, getting that rebound, not passing until the very last second, which really keeps the defense on his toes. He's going to elevate for a layup all the way from the rebound on the other side of the ball, and he's either going to pass out for an open shot or take that easy layup. Just efficient full court player. And in the half court, again, he's great at really either moving well in a half court set, or he has the ball at the very top of the key, held even close to the half court line, and he's going to be an absolute bull and just rush down court and really make the defense pay with his athleticism, burst, and speed, which was a huge strength coming out of college, and it's really come to fruition even though he did have that ACL injury. As a defender, he has his ups and he has his downs. He has these high-end plays where he'll make a really nice steal, and again, he'll parlay that into a really nice bucket at the other end, but sometimes he kind of sleeps on defense and allows his opponent to get an open three. To me, Markelle Fultz is about an average defender, which is okay, especially from a bigger point guard. He has that high-end moments and he has those low-end moments, and this is reflected in his defensive rating and his defensive statistics. He's about league average in defensive statistics, but really all in all, I'm a huge fan of Markelle Fultz's game nowadays. I was a bit skeptical about him being the first overall pick when it happened, but I've really warmed up to Markelle Fultz's game at this point. And again, he's a good, efficient starter. And to me, his ceiling is the best six-man or a top 3 six-man in the NBA on a championship team, but I do think he could be a starter of a solid playoff team, something that the Orlando Magic aren't right now, but they really are building towards.